I'm projecting a scarring mental image into your brain. Orson Welles in a loincloth. If you go to thenewamerican.com, you'll be able to find a wonderful article by Selwyn Duke entitled "Geological Study Refutes Green Energy Agenda. Not Enough Metals to Replace Oil." In it, we read, many points are made when discussing the green energy agenda's infeasibility. It has been noted that wind and solar can't provide our energy needs, that powering the United States with wind would require an area 3 times California's size. It has further been asserted that electric car production and use actually cause more pollution than the gasoline status quo. It's not just that electric vehicles manufacture creates massive releases of CO2, not a pollutant, mind you, either. It's also that the mining of metals and minerals required for their production causes environmental damage. Yet there's a kicker here too, a point seldom made. Even if we could more cleanly and efficiently mine the minerals in question, there simply aren't enough of them to make green energy a reality. Essentially, he related a study headed up by Simon Michaux that says, the quantity of metal required to make just one generation of renewable tech units to replace fossil fuels is much larger than first thought. Current mining production of these metals is not even close to meeting demand. Current reported mineral reserves are also not enough in size. Most concerning is copper as one of the flagged shortfalls. Exploration for more required volumes will be difficult. This dovetails with an article by Gail Tverberg entitled "The Fatal Flaw of the Renewable Revolution: Ramping Up Wind Turbines, Solar Panels, and Electric Vehicles Can't Solve Our Energy Problem." In it, she writes, many people believe that installing more wind turbines and solar panels and manufacturing more electric vehicles can solve our energy problem. But I don't agree with them. These devices, plus the batteries, charging stations, transmission lines, and many other structures necessary to make them work, represent a high level of complexity. A relatively low level of complexity, such as the complexity embodied in a new hydroelectric dam, can sometimes be used to solve energy problems. But we cannot expect ever higher levels of complexity to always be achievable. According to anthropologist Joseph Tainter, in his well-known book, The Collapse of Complex Societies, there are diminishing returns to added complexity. In other words, the most beneficial innovations tend to be found first. Later innovations tend to be less helpful. Eventually, the energy cost of added complexity becomes too high relative to the benefit provided. Regarding the aforementioned Joseph Tainter, he describes the energy complexity spiral here.
So you mentioned earlier a book you wrote with Tad Patzik called Drilling Down. And in that book, you describe something called the energy complexity spiral. Can you explain what that is?
Well, yes, as complexity and energy grow, they have to grow together. On the rare occasions when humans have had little bits of surplus energy, I think on those occasions complexity has grown because of having surplus energy, but then becoming more complex requires still more energy, so that they spiral together. Energy and complexity spiral together. As one increases, the other increases. As energy increases, complexity increases. And then as complexity increases, energy has to increase also. So this is what I mean by the energy complexity spiral.
Tainter seems to be at a loss to explain as to why societies become larger and more complex. An answer to that may be found in the book Scale by Geoffrey West. In it, the physicist draws attention to what's known as the quarter power law. To explain it, imagine a mouse. Then imagine a guinea pig that's twice the size of the mouse. You'd assume that the guinea pig, having twice as many cells, needs twice as much food. If you did, you'd be wrong. In fact, the guinea pig only requires 3/4 as much food. In other words, due to scale, it's operating at a quarter more efficiency. The quarter power scale law is also to be found not just in animals, but in other systems such as corporations, cities, galaxies, and so forth. Returning to Joseph Tainter's question about why civilizations get bigger and more complex, this is the reason. As energy resources drop, the natural reaction is to scale up and get larger as a method of operating at 25% more efficiency. The problem, though, is one noticed by H.G. Wells in his final book, The Mind at the End of Its Tether. He has a chapter entitled Death by Gigantism. Whenever a species is about to die, say for instance the giant sloth or the dinosaur, it assumes giant dimensions. Eventually, it dies out. The same thing happens to societies. Our economic system may just have gone from national to global to take advantage of the quarter power scale law. Eventually, though, as the global supply chain starts to buckle and collapse, we might meet the same fate as the Mediterranean world in 1200 BC during the late Bronze Age collapse. Our thirst for rare earth elements may outpace the actual demand. We simply may not have enough power for 8 billion people. But then again, maybe that's the point. The world that the Green Revolution is pointing toward is a world designed for a vastly smaller population. So maybe what's happening is not such an oversight. As you know, The New American has partnered with a platform called Locals recently. It's a for-pay platform where fans can help support the show for like $5. Think of it like seeing a street musician and throwing a few coins in his cup. Besides, if you sign up, I can stop selling my bootleg merch, like the Daniel Natal urinal cake. That was an even worse seller than the Daniel Natal in action figure. Turns out that kids didn't exactly care to see Daniel engaging in an action as he surfs the web, or engaging in an action as he watches TV. These were not big sellers. Embarrassingly, focus groups determined that the in-action figure in particular did slightly better when rebranded as the Daniel Natal Voodoo Doll. At any rate, drop by our web address at thenewamerican.locals.com if you want to have more intimate contact with the hosts, get additional content not available elsewhere, and if you want to help support the show.